Welcome to the Carriker Chronicles, the People Show. Checking the pulse of Husker Nation, brought to you by DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Also, all your Husker sports hopes and dreams will come true at carrikerchronicles.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just science. First off, I want to give a shout out to my beautiful family. We're clearly raising them right. This is my gut reaction to Nebraska's win over Northern Illinois in Memorial Stadium tonight, where the fans showed out once again, not just for Colorado, but they showed out and showed up and were loud and proud and made an impact on this game yet again. Now, if you're like me and you're excited to see Nebraska 3-0 for the first time since 2016, ladies and gentlemen, it's been too freaking long. Dylan Raiola was in the 8th grade the last time Nebraska was ranked this high. But if you're excited like me, Nebraska's 3-0, then smash that like button. As always, if you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button. We got lots of content coming up. Chatted with David Pollock. The plan is to interview him, put that out hopefully Tuesday, Thursday morning, put out a prediction show, maybe Wednesday night because it's a Friday game against Illinois this upcoming week. But either way, we'll have a current Nebraska Husker on and that prediction show, doing an interview as well. So hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you don't miss anything. Now, Northern Iowa, I got respect for their program. Right, they were 2-0 coming into this game, the 21st ranked team in the FCS. Very respectable, 9-22 as an FCS team versus FBS opponents, including 3 wins apiece over Kansas State and Iowa State. And 4 of their recent losses to FBS teams were actually by a touchdown or less. Now, entering the game tonight, Dylan Raiola has played incredibly well. He played really well again tonight. He was completing 74% of his passes coming into the contest this evening. 423 pass yards on the year, 3 touchdowns, and no turnovers. He threw his first pick. I guess he is human as a 19-year-old. He threw his first pick tonight, but no turnovers coming into the game this evening. All right, last year after 2 games, all right, our starting quarterback had completed 58% of his passes, had 220 pass yards and 7 turnovers. So Dylan's playing just as we had kind of hoped up to this point so far this year. Now, not only is Nebraska 3-0 for the first time since 2016, but the other times Nebraska's posted a perfect non-conference record 3-0, 2000, 2001, 2003, 2005, 2010, 2011, 2014, and hopefully there's a lot more here to come here in the near future for the Big Red as well. All right, Nebraska's defense has held the opposition to 14 or fewer points in 6 consecutive home games. All right, the 2024 win over UTEP and Colorado under Matt Rule, Nebraska has held 8 of 9 opponents at Memorial Stadium to 14 or fewer points, and I'm sure you've heard by now, but Nebraska's ranked 23rd in the AP poll. It marks the first time Nebraska has been ranked in either poll since before the second game of the 2019 season. All right, Nebraska 14-0 all time versus FCS opponents, 15-0 after tonight. They played their first FCS opponent in 1992. Now, Nebraska, as I was writing these notes, here's what I wrote. Dominating, so far, dominating time of possession so far this year, almost 37 minutes a game. That is not something that necessarily continued tonight, but we'll get into that in just a minute. All right, Nebraska's first few drives, they made it look easy. Here's what I wrote about the first drive. Nebraska made it look easy. Husker Nation still going crazy. Dante Dowdell got the first couple of carries, and man, he was running hard. Heinrich Harburg made a few appearances in this game at running back, at wide receiver, did a few things. He appeared in this drive at running back. He appeared at wide receiver in the first drive of the game. Matt Rule, I believe he's intentionally showing things to Illinois and future opponents, setting things up, kind of messing with defensive coordinators, if you will. Now we got to prepare for this guy at running back, a wide receiver. What trick play do they have? What can they do with Harburg? I think he's setting up some things for the future. All right, now the Huskers score on a 24-yard touchdown pass from Dylan Raiola to Carter Nelson, true freshman to true freshman, the 2 highest-rated true freshmen in Nebraska's most recent signing class this past season. Nebraska leads 7-0. The 3rd straight game Nebraska has scored on their opening drive. And interestingly enough, Carter Nelson, who played 8-man football growing up out in Ainsworth, playing in only his 3rd 11-on-11 football game. The 6'5", 230-pound tight end who has been moved to wide receiver because Matt Rule is very high on him and basically just wants to find a way to get him on the field, is starting to make his mark already. Nebraska's opening drive, 8 plays, 75 yards, a total time of 3:20. The Huskers lead. Northern Iowa's first drive. All right, we're going to get into the Blackshirts here in just a minute. I don't think they played bad. I think they can play better. Okay, but Northern Iowa's first drive, 16 plays, which included 2 offside penalties from Nebraska. Nebraska had 12 penalties versus Colorado last week. Okay, the Panthers' first drive was over 10 minutes long, 10 minutes and 8 seconds, 63 yards, ended in a field goal. The score is 7-3. Now, the Panthers, Northern Iowa, actually threw the ball pretty effectively and also converted a 4th down on a power run to the right to an overloaded side of the formation. They put a bunch of tight ends to the right and basically went that direction and converted on a 4th down. This is a team that's not going to come in here wide-eyed. As I just mentioned, they've played a lot of FBS opponents. They've had some success versus FBS opponents, and it showed. The Huskers' second drive, Emmett Johnson at running back. The coaches said he's earned more reps with how he played in the last game, how he's practiced recently as well. Now, that was the first quarter. That first drive for Northern Iowa took like 18 years, actually just over 10 minutes and 8 seconds, as I just mentioned. But each team had only had 1 full possession apiece, and that was it. All right, now, I should mention Northern Iowa's like playing another Big Ten team from how they mentally approach the game, how the offense is built, how they want to play. They've had the same coach since 2001. This is his 24th season there, Coach Mark Farley. Okay, so this is how they're built, and this is what they do. The Huskers' full drive looks easy. Second full drive, I should say, looks easy again. Dylan Raiola, another touchdown pass, an 18-yard completion to Isaiah Nayor, the Texas transfer. All right, Nebraska's 2 touchdown drives are barely just over 3 minutes apiece so far. All right, this offense, in my opinion, is so much more efficient, so much more dynamic. Obviously, we're taking care of the ball better with Dylan Raiola at quarterback. If we score quickly like this on a semi-continuous basis, time of possession may not be as big a deal this year. I don't know how much I buy into this as the season goes along, but we're going to see. But if we're scoring quickly, time of possession may not become as important, but we'll see how the season goes along. Nebraska leads 14-3 at this point. Now, the Blackshirts are back on the field and coming into the game. All right, they had held the first 2 opponents this year to a total combined 17 points for the first 2 games, the fewest since 2009. They'd held 9 straight opponents under 400 yards, the longest streak since 2008 and 2009. I think some of you Husker fans are going to remember that defense. They allowed 16 total rushing yards versus Colorado last week, the fewest in a game since Purdue of the year 2020, and they recorded their first pick 6 since 2019, a week ago. And I'm sitting there at this point thinking, let's go Blackshirts. All right. Like, I don't know what happens the rest of the game now as I'm recording this, but as I go through my notes, that's kind of what my thought was. That's what I was thinking. Real quick, before we start to get into the meat of this game. All right. And the Blackshirts needed to get off the field sooner. They didn't give up a lot of points. They needed to be a little bit more physical at the point of attack on the front. They needed to tackle better. Again, they didn't give up a lot of points. Northern Iowa just found a way to stay on the field way too often, in my opinion. But I'll get to that, along with a couple more thoughts on the offense as well. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, DPS Concrete Construction. You can check them out at dpsconstruction.net. They do a phenomenal job with concrete, asphalt, retaining walls, that kind of work. If you need it done, check them out at dpsconstruction.net. If this is your line of work, especially if you're in the Omaha metro area, okay, go to dpsconstruction.net. Jason Armstrong is a good friend of mine. He's the owner, and there's nobody better to work for. Also, I want to give a shout out to Allen Capital Group. They're located in Omaha, Grand Island, and Ogallala as well. You can check them out at allencapgroup.com. That's ALLEN capgroup.com. This is the financial group that has done my finances, my family's finances for over a decade. Okay, there's no more things in life aren't many things in life that can be more stressful on a personal level, on a family level, on a marriage level than finances. And when you know that they're in good hands, it makes your life so much easier and it puts your mind so much more at peace. Check out Allen Capital Group. Okay, they have next level solutions for next level needs at allencapgroup.com. All right, back to the game, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the Blackshirts on the next drive did force the Panthers to punt. All right, The Huskers' third drive. It felt like I almost blinked and missed it. It was only 4 plays. Included a 59-yard pass from Raiola. Okay, it was a boot or play action. He had a defender in his face. He eluded him. He's not going to be a burner, but he can make guys miss, and he can make plays with his feet more than people would think when he wants to and or needs to. There was a boot later in the game. Didn't look so pretty, but he can do more than I think people realize with his feet. He made the defender miss, okay, and completed the 59-yard pass, all right, to Jalen Lloyd, who made a nice adjustment as well. The drive was capped off by a 10-yard Ja'Cory Barney touchdown run. Matt Rule loves this guy. The youngster, okay, the speedy freshman from Florida has a bright future. They just want to get the ball in his hands, and you can tell it. That they just want to get him the rock and see what he can do with his natural abilities, okay, and his speed. Now, Nebraska leads 21-3. At this point, Raiola is 10 of 11, passed for 170 yards, no interceptions. Obviously, he threw the one later on because he's human. Okay, the Huskers ran 19 plays so far and gained 215 yards. That's 11.3 yards per play to this point in the game. And this was something that was noted by Mitch Sherman on X. Okay, but what he said is every player involved in scoring touchdown, throwing, catching, and running for Nebraska tonight, that is new this year for the Huskers as far as throwing a touchdown, catching, and running. The guy scoring. That's new to the Huskers this year. All right, Nebraska's first 3 possessions all ended in touchdowns. Nebraska's first 3 drives, 8 plays, 75 yards was the first drive. Second drive, 7 plays, 75 yards. Third drive, 4 plays, 80 yards. The drives aren't getting any shorter yardage-wise, but they're getting shorter play-wise before the Huskers are able to put it in the end zone. Now, the Chasing 3 moniker, I've gotten some questions because you see the Chasing 3, whether it's on YouTube or social media, from the university social media and or YouTube sites. So what that really is, for those who've asked, Nebraska lost 4 games last year by 3 points or less. Okay, oddly enough, 3 of those 4 games, the exact score was 13-10 every time. Okay, I have a feeling our offense can score a little bit more than 10 points this year. But just for those who wanted to know what the Chasing 3 moniker is, it's because they lost 4 games by 3 points or less, or by 3 points last year. So to answer those questions that have been sent my way. Now, at one point in the first half, Raiola had completed 11 straight passes. The Huskers had a chance to score right before halftime, but they were stopped on 4th down. Okay, Thomas Fidone was open. Raiola threw to someone else. It did not work out. Now, overall, for the offense, really good first half. Borderline great first half, maybe just the last possession, but it happens. All right, the Blackshirts haven't given up, here's my notes, haven't given up many points so far, but just haven't looked sharp. Just haven't looked crisp, haven't looked sharp. Okay, haven't tackled well, need to be more physical, and even Matt Rule talked about that as well. All right, as far as halftime stats, Northern Iowa, 158 total yards, Nebraska 256. Passing yards, Northern Iowa 209, Nebraska 87. That's wrong. Nebraska 209, Northern Iowa 87. I wrote those wrong. The rush yards, okay, this was a surprise. Northern Iowa 71, Nebraska 47. But part of that, okay, is we only attempted to run the ball 9 times. We're averaging 5.2 yards per carry. We were throwing the ball a little bit more. Now, one of those runs was a 15-yard run by Raiola on 3rd and 1 that almost looked like a read option. But I think it was designed for him to just keep it. Now, the time of possession was almost 2-1 in favor of Northern Iowa at this point. It was like 19 and change to like 10 and change, all right, at halftime. But we're just not getting off the field fast enough on defense. Okay, so Northern Iowa's first drive in the second half, it's over 5 minutes long into Nebraska territory. Malcolm Hartzog makes the pick to end the drive. Now, again, the defensive line, I'm always going to watch them. They got the potential, and they really are one of the best defensive lines in the entire Big Ten Conference, in my opinion. I don't know that they played the whole game like that tonight, and I hope they use that as motivation to get better going forward. Ty Robinson still made a few plays. That guy sticks out to me just about every game. Now, randomly, I do want to give a shout-out to a couple of people. I want to give a shout-out to Rhett Lewis. He was the sideline reporter tonight. If you were one of the fine folks who watched this game on TV, people were hitting me up. Rhett and I actually did a Big Ten show together for quite a while. Now, I'm not doing it anymore. Why? Why would I walk away from the Big Ten show? I walked away. Why would I walk away? Because of the Carriker Chronicles. That's how much I love doing this show. And frankly, people seem to really enjoy it, and it keeps growing, and I want to focus on it. But I want to give a shout out to Rhett. I've never had a better co-host in my life. He's one of the most informed human beings I've ever met. I also want to give a shout out to Greg Sharp. Most of you are aware of this, the longtime voice of Nebraska sports, really, but Nebraska football for about 3 decades, diagnosed with cancer last April. And he's battling. Sharp strong is all I got to say. Shout out to him. Much love to him. Okay, the man he battles and he keeps showing up. He loves what he does, and Sharp strong. Show the man some love in the comments below if you'd like. Just use hashtag Sharp strong. All right, the next drive in the game. Nebraska goes deep into northern Iowa territory. And this is where Nebraska's drives kind of started to stall a little bit. We got field goals instead of touchdowns, even when we had good field position at points, okay? The second half is kind of 2 second halves in a row where we look a little crisper in the first half than we do the second half. Okay, now we go deep into northern Iowa territory, make a 31-yard field goal by Tristan Alvano. Okay, after missing the field goal last week, 32-yarder, it's good to see the talented Alvano make a couple of field goals tonight, get a little bit of rhythm, hopefully build some confidence. I'll feel better if we can right the kicking game going forward. Huskers lead 24-3. The next Husker drive was rather interesting. It ended in a field goal, but it was rather interesting for a few reasons. We got the ball at Northern Iowa's 30, and again, we couldn't punch it in on this particular drive. Okay, only got a field goal. But Harburg was at running back again. Then he was at receiver. He actually caught a pass out of the backfield to fans' delight. Then he actually ran the ball as well. Again, I think Rule's setting some stuff up for the future. All right, the Huskers, this is where they tried the boot with Raiola. Didn't go so great. Probably saw something on film, and all of a sudden the Panthers kept contained out of nowhere where they hadn't been keeping it before Alvano makes another field goal. Nebraska leads 27-3 at this point. And again, Nebraska's offense wasn't quite as sharp at points in the second half, much like Colorado, to varying degrees, I should say. That's something they got to work on going forward, just being more efficient, making adjustments throughout the game, keeping that continuity throughout the game. We've had great game plans coming into every single game so far this year. Just got to make continuous adjustments throughout the game as well. Here's something I thought was interesting. Pro Football Focus, when grading the Huskers' coverage defense versus Colorado last week, and I know I'm backtracking, but this is when the stat came to me. Pro Football Focus labeled 100% of Nebraska's coverages as unknown. That's how well the 3-3-5 and Tony White's Blackshirt defense disguises their coverages. Okay, now admittedly, all right, there's a few minutes left in the game. The score is currently 34-3. All right, I know the backups are in, and I want to evaluate them, and I want to evaluate the game even more and more. And so I will talk about that more on my Sunday night show that I do every week during Nebraska's football season, 6 p.m. Central Time. It'll go out on YouTube. All right, every Sunday night, 6 p.m. Central Time on YouTube. I post it on social media an hour later. And again, David Pollock, the plan is to put that interview out on Tuesday. Illinois prediction, current Nebraska player interview on Thursday morning. Again, maybe Wednesday evening because of the Friday game. But here are my thoughts for now. All right, our offensive skill positions are pretty impressive. The skill that we have at the offensive skill positions is pretty impressive. Dylan Raiola has exceeded my expectations so far as a true freshman, 100%. If you watched my video before this season where I talked about what I was hoping to get out of him, he's exceeded them so far. All right, and to me, we feel right now like a legit team. We got a lot to prove yet. But right now, based on what I've seen, which is limited information, we do. We'll see how that unfolds as this season unfolds the next couple of months. All right, the Blackshirts, again, use this week as motivation to get better going forward. Even though they didn't give up many points, I don't think Tony White's going to be 100% thrilled with this game. And offensively, more efficiency in the second half. And we are still doing a much better job of taking care of the ball offensively. Continue that going forward. Oh, one last shout out to Rex Burkhead. He was actually the answer to the trivia question tonight as to which Husker had the most amount of carries in a single game in Nebraska football history. It was Rex Burkhead. Congrats on going into the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame. That's the shout out. He had 38 carries versus Iowa, I believe 2015. All right, ladies and gentlemen, CarrikerChronicles.com. It's not just my game reactions. We got all sorts of game reactions. The vetting process that I went through to put everyone on the site. Yes, we've got like 17, 18 shows. We've got 9 to 10 different writers. The vetting process to put good content on was quite extensive, and we're very proud of those that are on the website. So go to the website, check out all the game reactions, not just mine. I'm just going to throw a few of them out there. There's more than this that do a great job on the site. You got Corn Craze, Corn Nation, John Johnston. Okay, hopefully he does no more shows from the bathroom or toilet this year. If you've seen him, you'll know what I'm talking about. All right, Doc Talk, and usually they put a full game breakdown out on Sundays. Jeff Duda writes great articles. Again, there's more than just those folks, but I wanted to highlight a couple. Give me your answers to these questions in the comments below. Number one, are you concerned about the Blackshirts at all? Just say yes or no. Number two, do you feel pretty good, or really good about our offense? Pretty good, or really good about our offense? And number three, will Nebraska break a top 20 ranking this week? Personally, I say one more week, but it's probably going to be a top 25 matchup versus Illinois on Friday. Go Big Red. And always remember, it's up.